Pilate wrote a letter to the Roman Emperor Tiberius recounting Jesus, including his acts, the trial, the crucifixion, and the resurrection. This text contains interesting details that are not present in the Gospels. The discovery of Pilate's stone in Caesarea Maritima in 1961 also sheds light on the crucifixion of Jesus. In this video, we will explore what was written in this letter. Before continuing with the story, I invite you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's very important for us that the word of the Lord reaches many people. Enjoy watching. There is a document called the Acts of Pilate that initially was part of a book called the Acts of Peter and Paul from the 1st century. Later, it was included in the Gospel of Nicodemus in the 1st century. However, there are doubts as to whether this account is entirely true, somewhat exaggerated by Christians, or completely invented. Some ancient writers believe that Pilate's report was real. It makes sense, as Pilate mentions Herod making negative comments about him. This account was sent to Caesar and Pilate wanted to defend himself. This seems logical. In 138 AD, Justin Martyr mentioned this report in a letter to the Roman Emperor Antoninus Pius. It is an important testimony, showing that this account was known around 150 AD and was in the imperial archives in Rome, possibly read by Emperor Antoninus Pius. Here is part of what Justin Martyr wrote to Caesar. And after he was crucified, those who crucified him cast lots for his garments and divided them among themselves to possess a part of them. Another church father, Tertullian, reported that Emperor Caesar Tiberius even attempted to include Jesus in the Roman pantheon of gods based on Pilate's report. Now, whether this is true or not, we do not know. There are no records of this in the Roman archives, but it shows that at least the early Christians held the acts of Pilate in high regard. Not only did Christians hold them in high esteem, but also the enemies of the cross. The letter from Pontius Pilate to Emperor Tiberius serves as a crucial historical artifact, shedding light on the events surrounding the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Its importance is underlined by the efforts of Emperor Maximinus in 311 AD, who orchestrated a false version of these acts with the aim of undermining the influence of Christianity. This manipulative tactic suggests the profound impact that the original acts of Pilate had within the empire. In this document, we will explore a series of events, examining Pilate's words and offering a reflection on this crucial moment in history. We will begin with the first lines of Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius. Pilate greets the emperor and describes recent events in his province. He feels the need to report the details as they happened, as he perceives that they might influence the fate of the nation, as the gods seem to have shown unfavorable signs. Pilate expresses his difficulty in governing Jerusalem, considering it the most difficult city of all those he has administered. The people were so agitated that I lived in constant fear of a revolt. To keep them under control, I had only a centurion and a few soldiers. I asked the prefect of Syria for reinforcements, but he barely had enough troops to protect his own province. This internal urge for conquest could lead to the destruction of our empire. These were the words of Pontius Pilate. It is surprising to note that the defense of Jerusalem depended only on a centurion, who normally leads a cohort of 100 soldiers. Pilate's predecessor, Valerius Gratus, also faced difficulties in governing Judea. He saw Jerusalem as a particularly complicated place to administer due to the conflicting behavior of its inhabitants. This introduces the description of the difficult conditions Pilate found when he took power. Pilate's account highlights the insufficiency of military forces to maintain peace in the city. Even with the risk of unrest, he had only a centurion and a few soldiers at his disposal. This limitation in the number of troops underscores the fragility of Roman rule in the area and the difficulties in containing possible rebellions. The text also mentions the general problem of the excessive expansion of the empire. Pilate is concerned about the uncontrolled growth of the empire that exceeded its ability to protect its domains. This indicates a difficulty in Roman resources and the implications of this for imperial expansion. Pilate's concerns about the consequences of the empire's expansion and the scarcity of military resources foreshadow the events that unfold later in history. These issues were probably central to Pilate's decisions, including his actions during Jesus' trial and crucifixion. Continuing to read the document, we discover how the lack of troops played an important role in Pilate's decision to order Jesus' crucifixion. Now we return to Pilate's words. Among the various rumors I heard, one struck me. It was said that a young man had appeared in Galilee, preaching with great authority a new message in the name of the gods who had sent him. At first, I was worried that he might incite the people against the Romans, but I soon realized that Jesus of Nazareth spoke more like a friend of the Romans than an enemy. One day, while passing through Silo, where there was a large crowd, I saw a young man among them leaning against a tree. They told me it was Jesus. I could have easily suspected, as he stood out greatly among the crowd. His golden hair and beard gave him an almost celestial appearance. He was about 30 years old. I have never seen such a kind and calm face. What a difference there was between him and the people around him, with their dark beards and dark skin. This is the only account of his appearance in all historical documents, which is noteworthy. This specific point is the mention of his blonde hair and beard. This raises questions about its authenticity. Was it perhaps added later by scribes while copying the document, or did Jesus really have a lighter appearance than his contemporaries? I suppose it is an addition made by copyists over the years, but we are not certain. It is undoubtedly intriguing. Now, regarding Pilate, without wanting to interrupt him, I continued my walk, but I instructed my secretary, named Manolos, to join the group and listen. Manolos was the nephew of the leader of the conspirators who camped in Etruria. He was from Judea and knew Hebrew well. He was loyal to me and deserved my trust. When I arrived at the praetorium, I met Manolos, who reported Jesus' words to me. I have never heard anything like it among the teachings of philosophers or in my readings. When I asked him if it was right to pay taxes to Caesar, Jesus replied, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's." It was for the wisdom of this answer that I granted so much freedom to the Nazarene, as I could have arrested and exiled him. Perhaps even against himself, he had full freedom to act, speak, gather people, and teach the people, and choose disciples without restrictions imposed by the praetor. However, this unlimited freedom granted to Jesus irritated the Jewish leaders, not the poor, but the rich and powerful. Jesus was harsh with these leaders, and it was a political reason, in my opinion, not to limit his freedom. The scribes and Pharisees of Nazareth he called a brood of vipers, and compared them to whitewashed tombs. Sometimes he mocked the extravagant donations of the rich, saying that the poor widow's offering was worth more. New complaints against Jesus arose daily at the praetorium, reporting his insolence. I was informed that something unpleasant could happen to him, as it would not be the first time that Jerusalem stones those who declare themselves prophets. And if the praetorium does not act justly, there would be an appeal to Caesar. However, my decision was approved by the Senate and reinforcements were promised to me after the war with the Parthians. Lacking the forces to contain a revolt, I opted for a measure that promised to restore peace in the city without submitting to humiliating requests. This suggests that Pilate hesitated to crucify Jesus, preferring to hand him over to contain political unrest and avoid possible revolts. Now we will examine the artifact associated with Pilate. Pilate's stone, discovered in 1961 near Caesarea Maritima, Israel. Also known as the Pilate inscription, it is a significant ancient artifact. It is an inscription on a limestone block that confirms the existence of Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea mentioned in New Testament accounts regarding the trial and crucifixion of Jesus. The inscription on Pilate's stone reads, "To the divine Augusti this Tiberium, Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea." Caesarea Maritima is located along the Mediterranean coast of Israel. Caesarea Maritima was an important city and administrative center in Roman times. The stone was discovered reused in a staircase leading to a local theater. Archaeologists identified it from the inscription carved on the limestone block. Now write in the comments if you already knew Pilate's letter. If you have knowledge of the subject, share it with us to contribute to the growth of our community's knowledge. If you've watched the video up to this point, I invite you to like and subscribe to the channel to not miss out on many stories. Write amen in the comments below if, like us, you love the Lord too.